Hello all, in this video we will talk about iterator design pattern. Let's consider a scenario. Let's consider there is an university or a school and in that you have list of students. Okay. Now you want to store those students roll number or name. Let us consider you are storing the name of the students. Then what data structure you will use? You will use list. Basically you want to store the names of a student, that's why you prefer list. And let us consider another scenario. Okay, here you can see, right, you store the students in a list. And let us consider another scenario where you want to store your files in a computer. So what happens, you create a folder and inside that folder you can have subfolders as well. Now here if you see, A is the parent folder and B is the subfolder and C is also a subfolder. Now under the B folder you will have this file c.txt, d.txt and all. Now if you see here, this particular folder structure is in the form of a tree, right? And you can consider another scenario where people where a Facebook friends or a LinkedIn connections are stored. How they are stored? Now initially, like let us suppose I am the person, okay, I am the person P. Now I can have multiple connections, right? So there forms a connection, like I have connection 1 and then I have connection 2, or you can consider Facebook friend 1 and Facebook friend 2. Now this connection might have another friends, like he might have connection 3 and he might have connection 4. Now there exists a scenario where C3 is also a connection of yours, like you can form like this. So basically the Facebook friends or the LinkedIn connections, it is forming a network, okay, and this network is in the form of a graph, right? And you can consider another example for the graph, like you can see telephone network, okay. Now from the main station, the signals gets passed to the each district substations, like each district stations, okay. And from each district stations it goes to the mandals and from there to your tower, okay. This also forms a network and this is called as a graph. And you can consider another way of arranging the data like map, okay. So map is like key value pair. Now you might end up like you would have heard Redis cache scenarios. So basically you put a key and you look up for that key. Whenever you encounter that key, you get a value, okay. Now in this case, if you see here, what you are doing, you are grouping elements, okay, grouping different kinds of elements in different ways. In list, all the elements are arranged in a linear order. If you see a tree, it is also a group, but the hierarchy or the way the elements are arranged is different. And then if you see the graph, like graph is also a kind of tree, right? So in the graph these elements are arranged in a different order, okay. And when you go for map, the elements are arranged in a little different order compared to the other elements, right? Now let us consider that, like as I said, in the list you stored a student names. Now I want my student names, okay. So ideally what you will do, you would have already had a class of students, okay, and then inside that you will have this list. So what you will do in this scenario ideally is you will ask this particular student, okay, this particular student class to give the list of students, okay. And then what you will do, you will run a for loop, right? That's what people usually do. Like when you get the students list, like here you will have the list of students. Let me write here, okay. So yeah, what happens is initially you will have the list of names, okay, student names, okay. You will have this list and what you will do is you will run a for loop on the student list and then you will fetch the names like list dot length and then I plus plus, and then what you will do is whatever the list dot get of I you will do. This is the way of getting the elements, okay. Here you can see, right? So this is the way of getting the elements on the list. Like if you want to fetch the student name, this is the way you get. And let us consider another scenario. Now I said your computer files are arranged in a folder in a tree manner, right? Now here to fetch the elements that are present here, how will you will do? The traversal is different for trees. For list, what you will do is, since they are arranged in a linear order, you just get elements by the index, and what you do is you start from index 0 and you continue till the end of the list, till the list is not empty, and then you fetch that particular element. Okay, you get a list of students. But for tree, as you already know, there are three types of traversals that are present in the tree. But now in the tree, you can't fetch these elements by index as that had happened in the list, because the way the data elements are arranged here is different. Okay, now in this case, to fetch the elements, the traversal techniques that are present in the tree are pre-order, post-order, and the in-order traversals. So it's according to your wish in which order, in which traversal order you need the elements. Okay. Now what happens is, let's say you asked for in order. Now what you have to do? You have to get the whatever you have done for the list. First you have to get the elements. Okay, get the elements present in the tree, or get a root element present in the tree, and then do traversal, or however the order user wants to fetch the elements, do traversal and print elements. Okay, this is the way if you want to really get the elements that are present in the tree, right? This is the way you should follow. So first get elements that are present in the tree, and then do traversal and print elements. The same thing we have done here for the list. First get the list of students, and then go to each and every index and then print the student name. Here also you have to do the same thing. But if you see here, the traversal that we have followed here and the traversal that we are following here are different, because here it's just linear order traversal, but in the tree you have in order traversal, you have pre-order traversal, and then you have post-order traversals as well. Okay, and like if you go with this approach, like now what is your aim? You want to print the elements that are present in the collections. Okay, that are present in these different kinds of data structures. And the same thing goes for graph also. Now if you want to print all the elements that are present in the graph, first you should fetch the elements that are present in the graph, and then you do some traversal techniques. Okay, now for graph, what are the traversal techniques that I can follow? Depth first search or breadth first search, whatever the traversal techniques that are allowed for the graph, you should, like, maybe I am the person, I want to print the elements in the graph according to the BFS traversal, breadth first search traversal. Then what you have to do, first fetch the elements and write the logic of the BFS traversal, and then print the elements. Okay, now if you see, what is happening here is, for each and every data structure, the traversal techniques are not common. These are not uniform. Okay, and if you really want to get or elements, get the elements that are present in these kind of data structures, or do some traversal, the logic is put on you, right? Because you should know what had happened here is, first your data structure or your class is just giving the elements that are present. Okay, now you are writing the logic of the traversal and you are printing it. So what is happening is, all this logic is present on you, right? So to do this traversal logic, because it just gives you the list of the items, but if you really want to do the traversal, then what you have to do is, you have to understand the traversal logic and write a code for that. And if you think, like, if it is uniform also for all data structures, at least it would have been better. Maybe once a time you can write the logic and you can pass your list or the graph or the tree to that code and it will work. But it's not like that. For each and every data structure, the traversal logic is different. Okay, now the person, like client, I am the client. Okay, now I just want to know the students, like there is a student class already present. Now I am the external person. Now if I want the names, what it is giving, it is giving the list of students. Okay, and it is giving you the complete list, and you need to implement it. So you should know how the data structure is working. You should know the internal implementation of that particular data structure, so that you can traverse it. Without knowing the logic, how can you even traverse? Now I have explained about the tree scenario. What had happened for the tree scenario? Can you do like this, like for int I equal to 0? You can't do, because the traversal logic for the tree are different from array. So you should know how that particular data structure works, right? So this way, like if you consider collections, so collections are nothing but group of elements, okay? You can call collection as an aggregate as well. It is a synonym of that, okay? Now if you have a collection and if you want to do traversal, or if you want to fetch the complete list of elements in a sequential order, then it is difficult, right? It's obviously difficult, because the main disadvantages you have seen here is you should know how the traversal logic works, and you are exposed, like you are given the internal details of this structure as well, okay? Now what if, now you are doing these traversal logics are different for list, text, tree and all, right? Now what if all these data structures follow a common traversal, but that won't happen, because the list, it arranges elements in a linear order, but the tree arranges the elements in a hierarchical order. So it's not possible that they change their traversal or they change their way of arranging the data, okay? The only thing that is possible is let these data structures function according to their implementation, okay? However the data storage they do, however the way they follow for data storage, they can do the same, but you can do another implementation, or what I mean is you can create another class. Okay, but you can create another class where you will have this traversal logic. So the main problem here is you have to write the traversal logic, and then you need to know the how the data structure works, right? Now what you want, I just want to invoke one method on these data structures, and then by using that method I should get the sequential order of these elements. That's what I want, being an external person. And these people, this list and text, this list, tree and graph, they are reluctant to change the way they store the data. So I'm not going to, like, but data structures also are not going to change it. So what if you have an interface in between which will provide me single method or few methods to access or to sequentially get access to all these data structures uniformly, so that I need not remember the methods of traversal logic for each of these data structures, right? Let's say I have an interface, and maybe let's say you have got 2 methods or 3 methods in that interface, but that if I use that interface, if I can traverse list, tree, graph and all, that would be much more easier to me. And that interface, what it has to do is, since the traversal logics are different for each, it is providing me a common method, right? In those methods, it has to implement the traversal logic. So what I mean here is, whatever the logic that I have put it here, these intermediate interface should implement this logic separately. Now let's say you have an interface, okay? Now I am the client, I am invoking this interface, and this interface should is providing some X method and Y method. So this X method should have this logic for list, and this X method should have this logic for the tree, okay? So the logic, whatever doing, the work, whatever we are doing is pushed away to an interface, okay? Yeah. Let's show me, and let's show an example, okay? Now what happens is, let's say we are talking about some restaurant menus, okay? Now let us suppose you have a breakfast menu, and then you have the dinner menu, okay? You have like a dinner menu you have, and then you have the pancake house menu, okay? Now what happens is, let's say this is a pancake house menu. Here you can see, right? So here if you see the pancake house menu, this is a collection, because it store menu items of all pancakes that are present. This is basically a breakfast menu, and it stores all the breakfast items that are available, that are related to the pancake. Okay, now when you go to a restaurant and you order a breakfast, they will give you a menu, right? It will have a list of items. So pancake house menu represents that. And how these menu items are arranged, these are stored in a list. Okay, these are stored in a list. And let us suppose you have another dinner menu. Okay, this menu is only for dinner. Okay, now you go to a restaurant for having dinner and they give you one menu. But if you see here, it is storing in a like primitive array. Here if you see, this is the array list, and here it is a primitive array. And the way the items are, like the way you access items in the primitive array and the array list are different, right? I'll show you. Okay, now because those are different, if you see here, pancake house menu, it is giving you array list, and whereas the dinner menu, it is giving the primitive array. Now, if you see the pancake house menu, this is the way you are accessing the elements, sequential order. First for int I equal to 0, breakfast items dot size of, and then you print it. But here if you see lunch items dot length, and then your lunch items, inside the bracket you are passing the index. Now, let's say here both you have the breakfast menu and the dinner menu, right? Now I want to merge both menus. Okay, when I want to merge both menus, whenever a person asks for the list of items, he should be easily getting that. Now with this implementation, what is happening is he has to know how the items are arranged for the breakfast. Then you are giving an array list, and then he has to know how the items are arranged in the dinner menu. You are giving the primitive array. Now what he will do is he will loop through each menu like this, and then he will get the list of items. But this is not a right approach, right? Because he needs to know, okay, this menu item is there, and it should know that it should follow this get of I. Then because for array list, to fetch the items by the index, you would use get of index, right? So it should know that it should invoke get of I method. And when you come here, it should know that, okay, here I should not use the get of I, because since lunch item, like dinner items, is a dinner menu, is a primitive array, you should directly access it by putting the index in the bracket. So you should know these implementation details. Okay, and like let's say you add another menu which contains a map, then you should know that implementation as well, right? So this was the problem we are facing. Now with the iterator interface, what you will do is, now let's say if you see here in the pancake menu, whenever what you are doing is you are giving the menu items to the external class. Here if you see what it is doing, it is calling the get menu items, and then it is fetching the list of pancake. On that list you are running the traversal logic. Basically you are giving your complete aggregate or the collection to the external person, which should not be done, right? So to avoid all these scenarios, what you will do is, I'll just create one more interface called iterator. Okay, now in this iterator, what I will do, I'll create two elements, has next of and the next of. Okay, now I'll create iterators for pancake house menu and the dinner menu. So if you see my dinner menu iterator, what it does is it implements iterator. Okay, it implements iterator, and in the iterator you have two methods, right? Dinner menu iterator should implement these methods. Now if you see, has next of, and then it has an implementation for the next of as well. Okay, what happens is, whenever you are creating an instance of dinner menu iterator, it will pass the menu items, like all the dinner menu items it will pass. Okay, and then what it will do is it will keep track of the current position. So like if you see the has next of method and the next of method, now you remember, right? When you go for next of in the dinner menu iterator, you have to put the index in these brackets, and then you should print the element, because this is a primitive array. And if you go for the pancake house iterator, that would be different. Okay, if you go for the pancake house iterator, what you can do is in the next method, instead of items of position, what you can do is items dot get of I you can do. Okay. Now what you are doing is, now the client need not know about all this logic. Okay, you are shifting this logic to this iterator. Okay, now here the same thing you have done here, whatever the logic that is present. So for this thing, what you are doing is you are giving lunch items of I. So here also you are doing the items of I, and then the position get increases, and it gives you has next of method as well. So in the iterator, first what you should do is, first you check whether it has any elements that are present to traverse. If the elements are present, then what you can do is you can just run the dot next of method. So how the iterator works here is, let me show. Okay, now let's say you have this array. Okay, this is an array, and you have list of elements like 0, 1, 2, 3. Let me put this 0, 1, 2, 3. In your iterator you have all this list, but what happens is there is a cursor or a position variable in this iterator. So let us consider this is a cursor. Initially cursor is placed at the start of the index. Okay, now when you ask for the element, it will just give you only this element. Okay, and then after this what you have to do, after giving this element, what it does is it will shift the cursor by one position. Now your cursor is at 1. Now you fetch that element 1. Now after fetching the 1 element, the cursor gets shifted by one position. Now your cursor is at 2. Okay. Now after fetching the 2 element, the cursor moves by one position. Now you will get 3. Okay. And the same thing happens after moving the cursor by one position. You will have the cursor is pointed at 4. Whenever you get, like there are two, you will 4 you will get. There are two methods, right? Has next of and the next of. So whenever you ask for next of, it will give the element that is present at this particular cursor. Okay, first when you go to here, like when you initially your cursor is at 0th position. So if you see here, your position at 0. Now what you should do is, first you should check whether the element is present or not. Then only you should fetch the element. If the element is not present, then you should not invoke next of method. It will throw error. Okay, now has next of method you should invoke. What it does is, it will check whether the position has crossed the element item length, like array length or not. Because sometimes what happens is array length could be 10. Okay, and you are requesting for an element that is present at 11th index. So that is not possible, right? That's what it is checking. If the position is greater than or equal to items length, or items of position equal to null, it will return false, else it will return true. Now see, one condition is it is handling the boundary condition, right boundary condition. If you are trying to fetch the element that is out of boundary of this array, then it will return false. And one more thing is, if you see the primitive array, what happens is, by initially you will assign some memory, like you will specify the size of the array, right? Maybe you will specify 10, but what happens is you don't assign 10 elements at one shot, right? In this case, initially you would have filled only this array with 5 elements, and now you are trying to fetch the 6th element, but the 6th element is actually null because you have not filled the array. So in that case also it will return false. Okay, in other cases it will return true. First you invoke whether this particular iterator has next of is true or not. Okay, if it returns true, then invoke this next of method. What next of method is doing? It is just giving you items of at this position. Now for the first time when you are doing, it will give you the 0th index element. As I was telling, it gives you the 0th index element, and immediately what it is doing, it is increasing the position by 1. Here after giving this element, it increases, it is moving the cursor to one position. The same thing what I have told you, it moves the element, and the next time what happens is it will run this has next of, it will return true, and then it will give the element at which the cursor is pointing to. Okay, in this way you implemented the iterator. Now you have to implement the pancake house menu iterator as well, because pancake house menu iterator, what you will have is you will have this list iterator. Or let me run that example. Okay, pancake, I'll implement it, pancake house iterator. So if you see pancake house menu iterator, if you do it, let me just copy pancake house menu. So in the pancake house menu, what happens? You are storing the elements in the form of a list. Okay. Now here also what you do is you store the elements in the form of a list. Okay. Now what you will have list of menu item, and then pancake house menu iterator. Okay. Now what happens is menu item. So this dot menu items equal to items. Now here menu items dot get of position you should do, because here you are using the array list, not the primitive array. So this is the only difference. Like here, if you see menu items dot size of, you should get, okay, menu items dot size of, and menu items dot get of position, okay, is null. So if you see here, but here this condition is not required. Okay. Now if you see, this condition is not required. So you got it right. For the pancake house menu iterator, what you have done? So pancake house menu uses the array list. So what you have done is, while creating the instance, you fetch the pancake house menu, and then you iterate it, like you assign these items to this particular list. Now when the has next of is invoked, what you have to do, you have to check the position is greater than or equal to menu. You are just checking the boundary condition. Here you have another check here, right? That check is not required, because what happens is, in the primitive array, by default you assign, initially while creating the instance itself, you assign a few elements to that. If you see the diner menu, whenever you are creating the menu item, you are instantiating with 6 items. So it could be a case where you can add only 5 items or 4 items, and the remaining 2 items are still allocated this menu, and those are not used. But this list, it's a dynamic. Whenever you add menu, then only memory gets allocated. So you need not check this condition here, items of position equal to null, because here it gets arranged dynamically, not like this, where in the first phase itself you arrange some memory here. Okay. Now this is the pancake house menu iterator. So what you have done, you have created an iterator interface, and then you created dinner menu iterator, and then pancake house menu iterator, and whatever methods that are present here, you implemented logic according to the data structure these menus are using. So what I have explained, let's say this dinner menu is using list, okay, pancake house menu is using list, and there could be case, right, where the dinner menu might be following tree data structure. So in that case, what you have to do in the next stop, what you should do is, you should follow whatever the traversal you need. So in few cases, what happens is, let's say your dinner menu is following the tree data structure. Now initially the customer asks for breadth first search traversal, and then they can ask for the depth first search. Even DFS also, they might ask for pre-order, they might ask for in order, and then they might ask for post-order traversal. So for that, you can create multiple iterators, okay, for each traversal logic. So what I am telling here is, let's say you have the tree here, okay. Now there could be 4 traversal methods that I can assume, okay. One is post-order, and another one is pre-order, and another one is in order, and then another one is BFS, breadth first search, okay. And all these three comes under DFS, okay. These comes under DFS. Now we don't know upfront that customer is interested in which traversal technique. So in that case, what you can do is, you can create 4 iterators, one for each traversal logic. And whenever customer asks for a particular traversal logic, you can use that iterator. Now what had happened is, you created an iterator interface, and then you have implemented dinner menu iterator interface and the pancake house menu interface. Now let's go to the dinner menu class. Now what you have to do is you do one more, you add one more method here, okay, create iterator of. So in the pancake, in the dinner menu, what you are doing is you are creating an iterator. So what you are doing, new dinner menu iterator of menu items you are passing. So basically what you are doing here is you are instantiating your iterator. In the create iterator of method, you are instantiating your dinner menu iterator by passing the list of dinner menu items. So by invoking this iterator has next of and the next of methods, you can traverse, right? You can traverse through all items that are present in the dinner menu. Same goes for pancake house menu also. Here as well, you can implement the same interface. Like here, I can implement the iterator. Now here, pancake house menu iterator of menu items. So here what you are passing is you are passing a list of menu items to the pancake house menu. Okay. Now what you are done with logic. If you don't have iterators, what you will do is either in the iterator main or this is a customer client, right? Client has to do this traversal logic, or one more case is maybe you want to expose one method here which implements the traversal logic. Let us suppose you expose, like if you give the, like if the client implements this logic, you are giving your internal details to the external client. That shouldn't be done, but you are doing it. This is the drawback of this. So let us assume that I don't go with this iterator approaches. What I'll do is I'll implement, instead of asking client to implement this traversal logic, what I will do is I'll implement one method here which will do the traversal. So in this case, what is the problem? You need not create all these iterators, right? Like let's say I can add 4 methods for a DFS traversals and one method for BFS traversal. But you carefully remember the design principle, single responsibility principle. Now your pancake house menu already has methods for adding the item, getting the menu items and removing the item. And on top of that, you are adding your traversal logic also. So it's not following the single responsibility. It has multiple responsibilities. Both data storage, it has to handle how it should store data, and then it has to handle this traversal logic also, right? So that's also not right approach, because it's violates single responsibility and principle. And whenever there is a change in the traversal, you have to come here and you need to change. So there are two reasons to change. One is if the data, the way the data is stored in this menu is changed, then you have to change this class. Or if you want to add traversal logic, you have to change this class. But according to the design principles, you should have only one reason to change the class. That is violated. So you should not do that. Now what happened here is you have implemented the iterator, right? Now let's execute the logic. Now this is so simple. Now what you can do is you can create one pancake house menu. Okay, the same thing what you have done here, like you create one pancake house menu and you create one dinner menu. And then what happens is, let's see the waitress class we have implemented. So if you see the waitress class for printing the menu, what it is doing is, now you want to print the menu, right? So it is it is getting the create iterator method, okay? And then it is getting the create iterator. It is invoking the create iterator here. So when it calls the create iterator, it will get the pancake house menu iterator, and then it will get the dinner menu iterator as well. Now it can print menu. What you can do is, iterator has two methods, right? While iterator dot has next of, you get the iterator dot next of. Because I already explained you in the iterator, you have two methods. Has next of is used to check the next element, and next of gives you the element. So what it is doing, it is an uniform implementation. But if you see here, you have two loops for dinner menu and then for the pancake house menu, and then you are fetching the items. This is an internal logic which is exposed. But here if you see, you are just getting a iterator method, and when you are running iterator dot has next of, you are getting element one by one. Okay, now this way, let's say in future you get another menu, okay, that might follow map. Okay, it will have the key value pair data structure. Now in the pancake house menu, it is using the array list, and in the dinner menu, it is using the primitive array, right? Let's say you in future you get one more menu which is using the map. So in that case also, what you can simply do, you can create one more iterator and implement the logic for the has, next of, and the next of. And the waitress, what it just does is it will invoke this create iterator of method that you will put it in the another menu, and it will just run just loop through that iterator will give you this. So this way what you have done is, though the implementations, though the data structures are different, you have a uniform interface, or you have a single interface using which you can get the list of elements, and use this iterator interface when you need a sequential ordering of elements. So what I mean is, let's say you want to fetch all the elements in some order, then use this iterator. But otherwise, let's say you want to fetch only the fifth element, then creating an iterator interface and then looping through the iterator and traversing from 0th index to the index what you want. This is unnecessary work. So use all these iterators when you need all elements in an order, right? Not a single element. Okay. Now let's see the class diagrams of this. So what happens here is, let's see what we have done till now. Okay. What we have done here is, so if you see here, what we have done, we have created one iterator interface. Okay, you have created one iterator interface, and the iterator interface you have has next of and the next of methods. Now you have two menus, pancake house menu and the dinner menu. Now in the pancake house menu, the menu items are using a different data structure, and the dinner menu items are using a different data structure. To traverse through these menu items of each menu, which are using a different data structure, and get the list of menu items that are present, waitress has to, because waitress is printing the menu, waitress has to know the logic of these data structures, and then your menu also has to give all the items that are present in the pancake house menu to the waitress, so that it will implement the traversal logic. But this is unnecessary, because you are giving your internal data to the external person. So what we have done, you have created one interface where you have has next of and the next of methods, and then you have implemented iterator for each menu. Now in this case, since you are just going with the array, you have a single traversal, right? Like linear order traversal. That's why you have implemented a single iterator for each menu, like pancake house menu iterator and the dinner menu iterator. But there are cases if the data structure is tree, or the map, if it is a map also, in few cases you might need to traverse through the keys, and in a few cases you might need to traverse through the values. So in that case you need two iterators, because one iterator is only for one logic. So you need two iterators, right? Two iterators in the sense you need to invoke it multiple times. If you go for tree, you have four logics, DFS. In the depth first search, you have pre-order, in-order, and the post-order. So in that case, you have to implement for the same menu, you have to implement four iterators. Okay. Now what had happened is, you are done with this logic. Okay. Has, next of, and the next of method are there. You have implemented logic for that. Now one more thing what you have done is, you have added one more method called create iterator method in the menus. Now waitress, what it does is, it will call this create iterator method, and it will get the pancake iterator and then dinner menu iterator, and it will just invoke has, next of methods and next of methods to do the traversal. So here you can see interface is the superclass, and the pancake house menu and the dinner menu is extending from this. And what is happening is, waitress is using the pancake house menu, and he is using the dinner menu to get the iterators, right? And once it gets the iterator, to invoke the methods, the waitress is using the iterator interface. Okay. Now after that, pancake house menu, it is creating the iterator of pancake house menu iterator. That's why this is using this pancake house menu iterator. And the same way dinner menu is also using the dinner menu iterator. Okay. This is the class diagram of it, of the example what we have discussed. Let's see the general UML diagram of the iterator interface, iterator design pattern. So what happens is you have one iterator interface and you can define methods as next of, or remove, whatever methods you want, and then you create concrete iterators according to the traversal logic whatever you want. When you create the concrete iterator of this iterator type, you provide implementation for all these methods. Okay, now how many ever concrete iterators you need, you can create those many iterators. Okay, like in the like in the before example we have seen pancake iterator, and here you can see the dinner iterator. Now one more thing what we have is you have an aggregate. So here if you see, these are the menus: pancake house menu and then the dinner menu. Now you are adding one more method, create iterator method, right? So here you have one more aggregate interface, and then here you should here it declares abstract method create iterator, and whatever the menu, pancake house menu or the dinner menu, or in future anything, if it implements this aggregate interface, it has to provide implementation of the create iterator. So basically what happens is, a client when it comes, it will, there are multiple aggregates, right? List, tree, graph, multiple aggregates. What client does is, it will talk to this aggregate and it will get the create iterator. Okay, it will invoke the create iterator method, and create iterator gives you this iterator, and what the client does is, it will invoke has next of and next of to fetch the elements that are present in these different in different data structures. Now likewise you can have the tree aggregate also. Tree aggregate also will create iterator according to the tree. What it will do is, it will create one concrete iterator where the has next of and the next of logic is present, and in the create iterator of method it will give you that iterator, concrete iterator. Okay, now you understood it, right? Let's go to the, like, basically in a nutshell what it does is, to there are aggregates that are present, but if you want to do some sequential order of traversal, the traversal techniques could be different for each aggregates. Okay, in these cases either client should know the internal details, or you should add methods in the aggregate class itself to for traversal logic. Both has cons. That is where what you have done is, you created one iterator interface so that client can just talk to this interface and invoke only one or two methods, and each aggregate implements its traversal logic in the concrete iterator. So in this case you don't know the internal traversal logic implementation as well. Now in case of tree, you just ask them, give me BFS way traversal of elements. Okay, it will give you BFS way of elements, right? You need not know the internal implementation of it, right? Let's see the definition of the iterator interface. So here what iterator interface is saying is, it provides a way to access the elements of an aggregate sequentially without exposing its underlying representation. Now what had happened is, here in our example pancake house menu and the dinner menu, what we have done is, you have primitive array and you have an array list. Okay, now what you have done is, you have created an iterator for both menus, and then you have implemented a logic for has next of and next of. So the iterator pattern provides a way to access the elements of an aggregate object. Here both menus are aggregates, and you are accessing the elements that are present in the menu without exposing its underlying representation. Now the client, he just, if you see this particular iterator menu class or waitress class, what they are doing, they are just calling the create iterator menu, iterator method, and then they are just invoking has next of and the next of. It doesn't know how the traversal is happening in the backend. Now if you see, it is doing this items of position, here it is doing this items dot get off. You don't know, right? Here waitress don't know about that logic. If you go for tree also, it don't know about the tree traversal. It just get an instance of the iterator, and then it will just invoke next of has next of. The same thing is mentioned here. It provides a way to access the elements of an aggregate object sequentially without exposing its underlying representation. Hope you understood the iterator pattern. Thank you.